Well, hello. Welcome to Front Porch Radio. My name is Julie Wilder, and it's Fox Day here at Rollins College, which means that students have off and there's food and beverage being set up for some sort of fun thing going on campus today. And yeah, it has been a week. And one of the things that has happened this week was the tremendous loss of Dave Plotkin, who I was not particularly close with, but he was a force and just an original person. And it's hard not to get emotional thinking about it, even though when I think about him and Billy Maines having a party and spilling some tea on the other side, it certainly puts a grin on my face. But it is a tremendous, tremendous loss to the Orlando community for Dave to have taken flight. And if you knew Dave, then you know. And if you didn't know Dave, man, I'm so sorry that you didn't get the opportunity to meet him. But you certainly have felt his influence here in our community on local politics in particular, through the Orlando Weekly, through all of the amazing things he did here at WPRK. He's basically a legend. And just one of those people that, you could never find anything negative to say about him if you even wanted to look. But he was just an incredible, incredible human being. The first time that I met him was actually on WPRK during his infamous 110-hour marathon. That won him is that the right word? I don't know. Anyway, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records, as he should be, for that and so much more. And yeah, I was just kind of new at, I don't know. I don't even know, honestly. I guess I could tell by the date of the marathon, but I don't even know if it was before I opened Dandelion or after or when, but I just remember he was taking anyone who would come on to onto the radio station to talk to, and we got there and had my power plant elixir that we ended up serving at the cafe and gave him a boost there, and that was my first introduction to both Dave Plotkin and WPRK, and it would be a few more years yet before I would launch Front Porch Radio on this station. But he was just an incredible guy, and I would see him about town all of the time. He used to eat at Dandelion a lot, and he was just an incredible person. So I just wanted to take a second to kind of do a little bit of a remembrance, and kind of give you guys some a little bit of details. His obituary was just posted hours ago, actually, and he did pass on April 1st, which is, I mean, if there's any day that Dave would pass on, it would be April 1st, right? He was a fan of going big and going large, and I know watching some of the comments on my Facebook stream from his friends, a lot of people were in denial because it was April 1st, April Fool's Day. It seemed like something Dave would do. I mean, maybe not in the cruelty of it all, but it just seemed unbelievable. He was actually a year younger than me, at 46 years old, which is wild. Yeah, it's just so wild to be gone that young, and that unexpectedly. Says he passed away of heart failure. So, whew, I am going to do a couple of things. I'm going to read a little bit of the statement that our station manager sent out to the crew, as well as his obituary. And then I'm going to play the WPRK documentary. It's about 15 minutes long, and it features him pretty heavily. Talks about his marathon in there. So I guess I will start with our station manager, Greg Golden. He said, "We've learned that Dave Plotkin, longtime WPRK DJ, volunteer, and community advocate, has died. Dave was a force, and it feels backwards to be saying so in the past tense. To be around him was to feel his presence and warmth. always faced outward to the people he loved. He advocated for WPRK when times were tough, supporting students in their efforts to maintain control of the station, whether from the station being sold or from the college's neglect. And he was central to the station's biggest achievements, including his 110-hour on-air marathon. Dave is featured heavily in a short WPRK documentary, which I'm going to play in a second, in which he tells amazing stories throughout, including about his start at the station when he was 14 years old. Around the 11th minute mark, he talks about the incredible effort he undertook to DJ on WPRK for 110 hours straight in an effort to break the Guinness Book of World Records. As you see in the documentary, this effort gained national attention and raised over $20,000. In turn, his work initiated the station's first internet stream, bringing WPRK to the world. He was active as of even just past November. They were playing the documentary at the Enzian, and the documentary was actually made during the era when I was the first rendition from Porch Radio ran for about 10 years, and then I took about 7 years off and just rebooted late last year. So, and the Obituary, born March 7th, 1979, Dave Plotkin passed away unexpectedly on April 1st of heart failure at the age of 46. Dave was predeceased by his father, Richard Plotkin. He is survived by his mother, Lynn Plotkin. Sorry, I've had a soft spot for moms going through something like this. Of Winter Park, Florida, and his brother, Ian Plotkin, of Plainfield, New Jersey, as well as many aunts, uncles, cousins, and a niece who loved him dearly. Excuse me. Dave was born on March 7th, 1979. In Livingston, New Jersey. I'm sorry, I'm losing it, man. And his family relocated to Central Florida later that year. He graduated from the University of Central Florida and also attended the University of Florida studying campaign management. When you listen to the documentary, you'll also hear that he is a graduate from Winter Park High School, the same school that my kid goes to. Dave ran the Upward Bound program at Rollins College, where he was a mentor to many young people, helping them get started on their journey in higher education. Dave was also a former art director at the Orlando Weekly and owner of You Should Run, Inc., where he created media for over 130 political campaigns. Dave was a significant figure in the Orlando political landscape and was known for his active involvement in the community. Notably, Dave set a Guinness World Record in 2005 for a 110-hour marathon broadcast on WPRK, the Rollins College radio station. After years of commitment to the Orlando community, Dave brought his deep sense of personal involvement to his new community, settling in Longwood and beginning a career with Turnpoint Services. Dave's upbeat personality, kindness of spirit, boundless compassion, and wonderful sense of humor shone brightly to all who knew him. He will be dearly missed by everyone who came in contact with him. A memorial has been scheduled for May 2nd at 4 p.m. at DeGusipe Funeral Home in Maitland. All are welcome to attend and honor Dave's life. In lieu of flowers, a donation in Dave's name can be sent to the charity or probably politician of your choice. I added the politician part. That wasn't part of them. So that's the official obituary that was just posted just hours ago. Thank you, Pat Green, for sending that to me. Pat Green also wrote up something in the Bungalower, and I can only imagine his family at Orlando Weekly is just trying to gather themselves before they say something. But yeah, Dave was a force. Oh, he was just an incredible person, and I just think about the fact that both him and Billy Maines are gone, and another person who's had a huge impact on local politics without being an actual politician is Stephanie Portia, and she's no longer lives here. She's still alive, of course. Was one of my first guests when I rebooted, but the three of them were so instrumental in just helping shape and craft a really progressive political climate here in Central Florida, and a lot of the political leaders that we have in place, have their have their starts, to thank for those three people, and two of them are at least not even on the planet anymore, and it's just makes me really, really, really sad. But I think right now, let's go ahead and switch over to the WPRK. You can find this on YouTube. It's if you Google WPRK, the documentary, it'll autocorrect to work the documentary, and you have to tell it, no, I want to listen to the WPRK, the documentary on the Sandspur line. But here it is. I'll see if I can kind of tell you when Dave is talking.
Once in a while, I got it. Here we are.
In Central Florida, WPRK really is the voice of Rollins College.
WPRK celebrates alternative culture. We play all indie music, and our station manager urges that DJs play only what they won't hear anywhere else.
Well, how are you going to do it? You're going to listen to Clear Channel the rest of your life and the same 20 rock songs that they play? I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't even get that anymore. You get fucking Taylor Swift 24/7, 7 days a week.
Or you could listen to something where, like WPRK, where they're playing songs and music that's not played on any other radio stations.
A good percentage of the broadcasters and the DJs are students. And of course, it's student run. Director staff is all students as well.
I started at WPRK in 2009. I started as the promotions director, and I was the assistant station manager, and I was the programming director, and then I was station manager.
I came down here, was interested in doing radio, interested in possibly at that time going into broadcasting as a career.
I remember the first time I went in to the DJ booth and I turned on the mic and I was like, and then I turned it off and I played music the whole time. But after that, I started to kind of warm up to it, and I got a lot better at talking over air, at kind of making this show my own.
When I started, did kind of a show that was not the most exciting thing for all the college students, played classical music.
When I came my freshman year, WPRK did not have a metal section. And I'm a huge metalhead, so I started the metal section here.
And when I came back to graduate school, wanted to get back involved with the station. And from there, joined up with WPRK again in different capacities, and then ended up being station manager for WPRK when I was in graduate school.
How I got started with WPRK is really funny because I was 14 years old and I went to Winter Park High School for the IB program, and we were allowed to use the Rollins library. So one night I was listening to the radio at the library and I heard the same song play over and over. And I thought, why don't I just go explore the station and see what's up? It's funny that they're playing the same song. Maybe now's my excuse to go there and see if I can get in. And of course the door was unlocked because, it was it was getting a little bit late at night, and that's how they used to kind of do things. It's a little more secure now. But I went in and I found a DJ just passed out on one of the turntables, and I woke him up just being there, and he was like, "Are you the next DJ?" And I said, "Sure."
The opportunity it gave me to talk to some of these musicians, really look into the music business and what it's all about and everything, and to interview Portugal the Man, Bombay Bicycle Club, CSS from Brazil. I got to go out to New York, go to CMJ, meet all these people from all over the country interested in the same things I am, and then interview a bunch of people. It was so cool.
WPRK is unlike any other place on campus. To be in this environment and to be passionate about college radio, you have to be a little bit of a nut.
It's a very interesting group, and eclectic is a great way to describe it, because it really is. It's I wouldn't say melting pot, but it's certainly a mosaic of the student body here at Rollins.
There are phenomenal human beings who work here. All of them are extremely creative, extremely open, honest. We get to learn about so much new music. It's constantly, every week, education.
And there are community DJs who are on the air, and they're really important because community DJs run the station in the late night hours or during times where students are in class, or especially over breaks and vacations. that's when the importance of the community DJs is really known. But also they bring a lot of people to Rollins and to the station who would have no other connection.
WPRK is one of the few college stations that are still around in general that is freeform. And the fact that radio stations that are freeform still exist, it's kind of like a gem and a real big rarity that Rollins College kind of has, WPRK.
Radio at Rollins started in 1924 when Professor E.F. Weinberg, who taught math, physics, and engineering, decided to experiment with emerging radio technology and purchased the first FCC license to broadcast in the local area. And this was a pretty simple experiment. He had a 10-watt transmitter. It reached a few miles out. A few years later, Rollins sold that station, which was WDBO, which is still around today. It stands for Way Down by Orlando.
And then in 1952, it became WPRK, the FM station. But because of that WDBO station, Rollins might be the site of the first college radio station in America because of that 1928. It wasn't much, but it was a first.
The first broadcast on WPRK was by Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was president-elect before he took office, and he celebrated what he knew WPRK could become in sharing culture, arts, and in his words, the ideas that keep men and women free.
I take a few minutes to record an expression of felicitation to Rollins College on the dedication of its new educational FM radio station. This new FM station of Rollins College can help to spread and advance the great ideas which keep men and women free. Whether the ideas come from the great music or poetry or other literature of the past, or from debates and reflections of today, the people of our country who are listening in will be the richer.
In the last 3 decades, the station has gone from daytime only to 24 hours and to full student control of programming.
Back in 1999 and 2000, WPRK was attempted to be sold by the school to basically NPR.
The Dean of Student Affairs, Dean Steve Nielsen, who recently retired, he had gone ahead with the college's plans and written up a contract that was all but signed for WMFE, the NPR affiliate in Orlando, to take over the station. This just was seeming like a really bad deal.
There was this whole big effort of save WPRK, and
the ratio of students was roughly 40 students to 60, community members. So when Amanda Colbinson, who was the student general manager then, freed up enough slots to invert that ratio where now it was a majority student broadcast station. That just happened because a lot of students couldn't do 3-hour shifts or 4-hour shifts, and a lot of those late nights were 4 hours. When she changed that and brought in all those students, that made the station much more of a student-oriented activity again.
it was a groundswell of support from the community that prevented that sale of WPRK, of the license, to become essentially an NPR affiliate.
And the combination of those factors has prevented the station from being sold at the very last second.
So I think what WPRK means to Rollins is it's a unique kind of gem that not a lot of college campuses are still able to offer. And I really think that WPRK was part of the reason I not only stayed, but part of the reason why I came to Rollins.
Boring.
But one of our shows that really does a fantastic job of engaging the community is a show called Local Heroes. And what they do is they take in a new band every week, and they will record them on air. They'll release a video of them playing in studio.
And it's just an essential resource for local musicians in town. Everybody wants to get on PRK to get interviewed. If you're going to have an album coming out, if you're going to have a big concert coming up, you really want to try to get on some of the shows, especially the local shows. That's just always been an important part of marketing music and letting people hear your music.
I mean, Bright Light Social Hour, Jacuzzi Boys, 100 Waters, there's another one, London Souls, all of which have kind of been at WPRK events and concerts and have gone to make it kind of big, or at least bigger, and become like nationally touring bands that show up on like sites like Spin and Pitchfork and stuff like that.
Through an annual concert that's now called Foxfest, we spotlight local bands, also try to book a larger national act, but we've really been able to use this as a platform to share what our local community is putting out as artists. One of those bands is the Groove Orient, who is made up of all Rollins alumni.
They came down to Miami and played in Miami, and I knew the club of a place that they played at, and he was just telling me, oh my God, they're amazing. They're such great musicians and whatever. And it's cool because they're all Rollins students. They're all musicians. But the way they got together was because, we were doing a big concert outside.
They produced an EP that got a lot of play here and still does. Two of their members host shows on WPRK, and we're able to really see them grow by seeing them every week and seeing how they're experiencing the entertainment industry and how they're wanting to grow.
I've had so many positive experiences at WPRK. It's really hard to narrow it down. Like, the one that stands out the most is the marathon.
I know that one of our DJs, Dave Plotkin, like broke a world record.
Dave Plotkin stayed on the radio for, I think it was like 5 days, and he didn't stop.
It was 110 hours is what the goal was.
A disc jockey in Winter Park, Florida is trying to break the Guinness World Record for the longest continuous on-air radio broadcast. Dave Plotkin of WPRK started his marathon Monday morning. He's trying to break the previous record of 105 hours for a total of 110 hours.
Doing a radio marathon, especially one that's a single person and they have to stay awake and alive for that long, is a really complex operation. And it turns out it's also kind of dangerous. I'd also been awake for multiple days in the past, and I'd been awake for 5 hours, or for 5 days before. Someone brought up that there was a world record of 105 hours set by a New York DJ.
I think there were like strict rules. You could only take this amount of break.
I know that there was a lot of fundraising involved, and I think that's how the online stream for WPRK came about. They were able to fundraise enough money to make us have an online streaming service.
It took over 300 people to run the show, and the students ran it. They were the producers of it. I just had to do the thing I really love doing, which is broadcasting and talking. We had almost 100 bands perform live on the air.
All this stuff, and they built a shower in this room, and they recorded her shower, and it was this whole crazy thing. And
we had a lavalier mic, dip down into there.
Okay, thank you for stepping in the shower with me.
That probably was my favorite part, was being in a bathrobe on the air in the studio after taking a shower. I was too tired to get dressed on the last day. And then that's when Howard Stern called in. And I'm sitting in a bathrobe, and Howard Stern calls, and he just jumps down my throat right away.
Real time, you gotta run back. Okay?
Yeah, hey, Howard.
Man, how long you been up?
I've been up now since Monday morning at about 7:30.
That's the movie. Wait now.
Kill a left runner, you know why?
Why?
Because of taking pledges.
So it was really cool, and it woke me up, and they decided to keep the marathon going. And it was with a little help from Howard Stern. By day 3, I was vividly hallucinating. And by day 4 and 5, there were stretches of time, hours-long stretches where I didn't know where I was or that I was in a radio studio. And there was one point on Friday where I thought that I was on an airship, like a spaceship with something less fantastical, like a blimp or an airplane or something. I just thought I was on a ship. I couldn't see any window, weird. So doing the radio marathon and just losing my mind over 5 days and letting everything come out. It's like waking up after a really bad bender.
Hey, I want to say thank you very much to everybody. Maybe we have a Guinness World Record. Maybe we don't. Who knows? You never know how these things work.
What college radio has to do is try to remain relevant. And I think that it's possible. I think it can be done in really creative ways. I know a couple of stations nationwide have done really cool things of kind of incorporating new media in with radio.
Having that local footprint is so important. So for it to go to AM to FM so long ago, I think FM is still relevant now, which is really kind of interesting. It's the reason why people want to participate with the station. If it was just internet only, they probably wouldn't want to.
All right. You just tuned in. I just played the WPRK documentary. It's a 15-minute piece, heavily featuring our dearly departed Dave Plotkin, who is just an incredible champion for WPRK, for so many humans, Orlando, local politics, really cool politicians. I was just kind of looking online, and one of his last comments he made on LinkedIn was directed at Anna Eskamani, our state rep, and he just said, whenever anyone complains about politicians, I tell them to Google you immediately. And she made a statement after she learned of his passing 3 days ago. It said, "There are truly no words to describe Dave Plotkin. A creative soul with ideas bigger than this world, driven by a deep desire to leave things better than he found it. Our lives intersected more than 10 years ago, and we became fast friends, spending hours co-working together at Drunken Monkey Coffee Bar on Sundays. When I decided to run for office for the first time back in 2017, I went immediately to Dave to help map out our launch, strategy, first photo shoot, brand book, and logo. The political logo we proudly use today was designed by Dave. Dave tragically passed away this week. I am grateful that I ran into him at Austin's Coffee a few weeks ago and wish we could have spent more time together. Rest easy, sweet friend. Sending love to your family." So that was State Rep Anna Eskamani, just sharing her love of Dave. And if there's one person who did absolutely leave this world better than he found it, it was Dave. And I'm sure his family must be besides themselves right now. Just a reminder that his celebration of life will be on May 2nd at 4 p.m. I will post the information on Front Porch Radio Substack if you find me there, as well as on my, I think it's already actually up on the Facebook page, Front Porch Radio. So that's some pretty heavy news, and certainly sending shockwaves through a lot of his friends who are probably honestly too shook to say much right now. But one of the things, we're coming off of a weekend where we just had a pretty massive protest demonstration. According to the organizers, about 5 million people showed up for the hands-off mass mobilization protest on Saturday. Of course, Orlando had a strong turnout, just like many other cities and even smaller cities around the country in response to the Republican Party and what they're allowing to happen and doing to the democracy that we live in. And I myself did not go to the protest. I was actually in my rest is resistance mode because earlier this month, it was about a month ago, actually, a group of extremists showed up on the doorstep of my bookstore and they, they're absolutely ridiculous, but it required some security upgrades, but it also was an absolute incredible blessing because we had people from all over the country try to tune in and bought stuff from my bookstore, which was just incredible because there was a viral TikTok video of it. And so I've been kind of exhausted because I had a lot of other stuff going on. And actually there's a recording I did. I think it was last week. I haven't really been planning out my Front Porch Radio guests because I've just been so freaking busy before that even happened. And then of course afterwards, I'm so busy that I just discovered Representative Anna Eskamani left me a voicemail about that incident because somebody reached out to her, and I was so busy I didn't even know she had it, and I still haven't even tried to call her back. But I know she's got my back, so I'm not. And we'll catch up soon. But I was just thinking about the turnout. I was thinking about how. And I don't want to say this kind of carefully because I don't at all. I mean, I'm all about the protest. I've been protesting. I mean, gosh, when was my first protest? I can't even remember, but pretty much early on, probably the George Bush Jr. days. A lot of Move On. I think in the founding of Move On and the candlelit vigils, you got to kind of start soft sometimes, and that's certainly how I think I started, and then carried on and have been a part of a lot of protests actually. Bringing my kids sometimes depending on what was going on, and I absolutely think it's really, 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 really important that people turn out and show up in significant numbers to express their disapproval. It is actually one of the fundamental rights written into our Constitution, the ability to speak up and speak out against what our government officials may or may not be doing. And I am so proud of so many people for doing that and showing up. And one of the things that struck me, and it took me about 24 hours because like I said, I've been busy, and this was the first weekend I actually, I spent Saturday at the beach with my kid because I haven't seen and spent a lot of quality time with her, given everything that was going on in the past, I don't know, the last 90 days since January 1st. And then I read a book. I haven't read a book in a really long time. But I was looking at the images, and typically after a lot of, let's just say that most of the more recent protests in America have been around Black Lives Matter, the Dakota Pipeline, and we're used to seeing a lot of police standoffs. We're used to seeing a lot of militarized police. We're used to seeing a lot of, nonviolent protesting juxtaposed and contrasted by heavily militarized police presence. And it was striking to me that in all of the photos and even some of the comments, that there was just not a very heavy or obvious police presence at most of these protests around the nation. And it bothered me for a couple of reasons. And, some of the Black influencers were saying, like, we decided that we were sitting this one out, and there's all kinds of reasons for that. And, a lot of politically active Black women in particular said that they resigned after they said, we have been trying to save this nation for all y'all for decades and decades and decades, and we are resigning. And I think that's probably why it took so long for a mass mobilization effort to kind of get off the ground. I think if they hadn't resigned, it might have happened quicker. But there was a friend of mine pointed out that in Atlanta, which is a majority Black, heavily Black City, the ratio of Black to white protesters was very, very small, and Black folks were honking and waving, and very grateful for, but the turnout across America was largely a white turnout. And it can be argued that the police presence was not as certainly not as aggressive or militarized, because they were expecting a lot of white people. And that could be because they don't expect white people to be as rowdy. But it's also because, let's face it, there's a lot of bias out there in the world, which can be called, structural racism. And especially when Black Lives Matter was protesting the police, of course, that's going to, of course, they can't just chill in the background and let them have their say. There's going to be a militarized kind of response to that, which is not how it should be at all. And being a white person and being at a lot of different protests that were not necessarily majority Black protesters, I always saw police presence there. And there's, surely there was probably some folks in, some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd or whatever. But I just found it very, very odd, and none of the explanations. I mean, certainly it plays in, but yeah, I just think it's odd. I just think that it's odd that it was just such a pleasant day with very few police presence. I mean, we're talking about New York City, they barely had anybody controlling traffic. People who were in the protests were volunteering to control the side streets, things like that. And that's a level I have not seen before. And it gives me pause. And I don't know what the answer is there. But I am a person who notices patterns and trends. I guess they call that pattern recognition. And I'm like, doesn't everybody connect the dots and see a difference between that situation and this one? But apparently not everybody can have pattern recognition. I just think it's part of critical thinking and critical observation. But it was strikingly different. What can we speculate? Can we speculate that local law enforcement is, kind of like, well, we agree with the protesters, and so therefore we're just going to go really, really easy. Was that a signal, to the government itself, or were they more doing surveillance and just kind of preparing for the next one? We don't know, but it's definitely a different approach than I have seen in the past, and we can certainly hope for. That it was done I would like to think that it was done to send a message to the White House. There's all these rumors, not rumors, but I mean, even Tom Hartman on his Substack was, talking about April 20th coming up here. And there's rumors that, gosh, what did he say? I'm just going to find it because I don't want to say the wrong thing here. Get to Substack. If you guys aren't on Substack, you're really missing out. One of the best people to follow on there is Heather Richardson Cox. She's a historian, and she is phenomenal. But Tom Hartman, he's been doing the Tom Hartman Report for a long time. He's up there, he's like in Vermont with Bernie Sanders. He's just a cool guy. And he is saying that it. I've heard other people saying this, and I kind of dismiss it for a lot of reasons, because it's just the rumor mill, you don't know. And I'm like, well, if Tom Hartman is saying it, I'm gonna pay a little bit of attention. And I'll tell you, I don't really believe. I follow a lot of different people, and one of the things that has given me hope was the fact that he was basically it's basically impossible for them to enact martial law in all of the United States. It's logistically impossible. And he pointed out all these other times martial law has been put into place and how essentially it wasn't really contained. so it's not something that would be actually sustainable. But what was interesting to me is the correlation between April 20th and the fact that it was Hitler's birthday, and it's a day. I mean, the rest of us know it as 420, and people celebrate marijuana that day. But apparently it was also Hitler's birthday, and amongst Nazis and neo-Nazis, it is considered a holiday. And even Tom Hartman says now it may mark the day Trump declares martial law, suspends the Constitution, and finishes the job he started on January 6th. And so I was like, what is it? What is his take on this? So let me get in here. I'm going to quote him. Okay, so what Trump has planned for Hitler's birthday, 420, which also appears to be a favorite of Elon Musk, because apparently Elon Musk says April 28th is Elon Musk Day. Anyway, so it's apparently the date one of Donald Trump's first executive orders requires Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth of Signalgate fame and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, I don't know if I'm saying that right, to submit to him a report on whether or not he can suspend the Constitution and Bill of Rights by invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807. Much like Hitler obtained the legal authority to ignore and even violate the German Constitution with the enabling acts on March 23rd, 1933, 53 days later after being appointed chancellor, Trump is looking into similar authority a mere 3 months after being sworn in for his second term. So what is the Insurrection Act of 1807? The Insurrection Act gives the president the power to ignore the Posse Comitatus Act, which passed after the Civil War, to guarantee that American troops would never again point their weapons at civilians within the United States. It does not require an act of Congress and is not time-limited like the enabling acts. It could last for as long as Trump holds the presidency. And odds are that even the Supreme Court won't stop him, as the justices have traditionally deferred to presidents' decision-making when it comes to states of emergency like those that would be identified when invoking the Insurrection Act. I'm reading off of Tom Hartman's report, by the way. Pundits are torn on how far Trump will push this, with Republicans suggesting he'd be unwilling to go beyond the bounds of the Constitution and the Posse Comitatus, but he's already tried to use the military against civilians. General Mark Milley refused Trump's request, but Milley is, of course, now gone. And would the law constrain him, which apparently it does not if we're paying any kind of attention? Trump's plan is illegal. Again, I'm reading from the Tom Hartman report. Trump's tariff plan is illegal. Only Congress has the power to impose tariffs. And Charles Koch and Leonard Leo are suing him to undo the tariffs, but he doesn't care. He's going ahead with them anyway. Trump's deportations without due process are illegal, but he doesn't care. He's carrying them out anyway. And this is not something he wrote, but something I'm watching in the news. There's a gentleman who was admittedly mistakenly deported. It was just a clerical error, according to Trump's own, this administration's own attorney. But they are saying that they can't get him back because he's in El Salvador now and there's nothing we can do, which of course they can do something. I mean, they've, absolutely they can. So, and then they are also punishing their own attorney for not basically, basically the attorney is like, yeah, the administration has not given me a good reason why they can't. And he's like, I don't know, but they're saying that they cannot. And so they are punishing their own attorney for not, being able to win a case that is illegal. I don't know. It's totally crazy. Okay, back to Tom Hartman report though. Trump's taking millions from the Saudis for his golf tournament this past weekend is illegal under the emoluments clause of the Constitution, but he doesn't care. He's taking their cash anyway. Trump's hustling Tesla cars in front of the White House is an illegal violation of the Hatch Act, but he doesn't care. He did it anyway, and not a single Republican dared challenge him. Trump's hatchet man, Musk's wholesale firing of government employees and shutting down agencies created and funded by Congress is illegal. But they're both gleefully ignoring the law and the Constitution. So we're long past the moment when our first felon president slipped into his criminal mode. The question now is how far he'll go once he gets his Hitler's birthday present in roughly 2 weeks. So that's a little bit of an update from Tom Hartman, the Hartman Report. Something to just kind of file away as we carry on with our lives, and prepare for possible different kinds of futures. And of course, a lot of people. I have never participated in the stock market. I've never had a. I think I cashed in my. I had a retirement account for my college job. Believe it or not, Kinko's, man, they were so ahead of time. But I cashed that in order to be one of the co-founders of Dandelion Cafe. And of course, being an entrepreneur, it's not like there's like a company program for 401ks, and slim profit margins, recessions, all of these different things. Anyway, I don't have a retirement account. So I don't have anything in the stock market. But I've also, I've always looked at the stock market as a speculative, emotional. It's not like based in material things. It is a wholly emotional. It's a wholly emotional marketplace, and the stock market has crashed. The Great Depression is one prime example, but it's crashed a number of times. It is not as safe as they would have you believe. But they need your, retirement money. They need you to be putting money into your 401k to uphold the stock market. And of course, it's like this sick thing because, of course, now that it's crashed, this is, of course, the worst time to pull out because, prices are low. You should actually buy. That's like the whole line, right? It's just like this self-perpetuating weirdo system that is based on speculation and emotion. Sure, you can make a lot of money in the stock market if you know how to gamble right, if you know how to, I remember talking to one of my aunts and she was like, trying to, get into the stock market. And she was like, and then I just realized, oh my God, it's a game. It's not real. It's fantasy. And you had to basically be intuitive about people's emotions. And that is exactly what it is. And of course, I know that there are a lot of people that are devastated right now if they dare to even look at their 401k retirement account. And of course, I've seen comments from people who've supported this administration being like, this was unthinkable. I thought economic would prevail. And it's just like, no, man, like, of course not. It's not unfathomable that this happened. And yeah, I know a lot of people who thought about getting out of the stock market once he was reelected. And I put that in quotation marks because just remind you that he's said that actually right out of his mouth that Elon Musk basically fixed the election for him. That's real too. And yeah, so why would he want to isolate America from its allies by imposing tariffs and starting these crazy, ridiculous wars with Mexico and Canada and then wanting to invade Greenland? Why would somebody want to do that? People think it's unfathomable because, there's this idea that he wants to be popular. No, he wants to be powerful. And he doesn't care about being popular. I know he's got a thing about crowd sizes, but he only needed to be popular long enough to be this powerful. And if you look at the people that he admires, including Hitler and a bunch of other strongmen around the world, including Putin, who did not put any tariffs on Russia, as from what I read, the interest there is not in keeping the economy going well. The interest there is in it's like an abusive spouse. It's a domestic violence kind of situation. And until people recognize that it doesn't make sense, somebody who is in domestic violence, they don't, do you know how many murder or suicides there are or murders there are in domestic violence? Like it's not people like that are willing to risk everything to be powerful. And it's not okay. And it is, it's not okay. But one of the things that I was thinking about last night is about, and then also just thinking about Dave Plotkin and Billy Maines, bless them. And man, I hope you guys are just having the best time together in that reunion. Please let me dream about it. Please let me dream about it. That would be so great. But I was thinking about the idea of living dangerously, but also investing dangerously, because as we're looking at, what have we been investing in? What do we need to divest from? Okay, we're divesting from Tesla. Okay, we're divesting from Target after it, failed to do the DEI. We're choosing to invest in Costco, who affirmed DEI standards, right? And so there's this action that we can do that's beyond, the parade in the streets and the protest is important for a lot of reasons, but the actions that we take in our personal lives, and what I would like for you to consider is, as we're divesting, where do we want to invest, right? And I have this idea that just kind of came to me last night about investing dangerously, and what I mean about that is investing in things that are deemed dangerous, like bookstores, right? Like independent media. Here we are I'm sitting at WPRK. I'm thinking about the community paper. I'm thinking about the Orlando Weekly. I'm thinking about, libraries and bookstores and schools. Of course, anything having to do with LGBTQ rights. Of course, anything having to do with immigration. Of course, the food shed and vaccines and medical care. All of those different things are kind of on the chopping block right now. The parks, for goodness sake. So when we're looking about where do we want to invest our money and our time and our energy and our focus, we really want to be investing in what is considered dangerous. And what is dangerous to this administration is women in power. What is dangerous in this administration is minorities, quote unquote minorities. I hate that. People of color, indigenous communities, those different types of things. So when you're making your choices about where you're going to eat out at night, or where you're going to shop, or where you're going to get your nails done, or who you're going to support with just your everyday things, think about supporting women. Think about supporting these quote unquote minorities. Think about supporting Black women, indigenous communities. Think about, shifting your dollars in that way. And also think about shifting your money away from the stock market, which is a speculative gamble, and into, there are websites like WeFunder that allow you to buy into directly into companies that are run by real people. And yes, there's a risk there, just like there's a risk everywhere. Everything is a gamble, right? But I went to there's this thing called Slow Money. It's like a cousin to the slow food movement, and I went to their conferences for several years in a row. And there was this idea about slowing money down, not vesting too fast, all these fast futures, all these different things. And it's like, no, let's reinvest in our local food farms. Let's reinvest in, where are the gapes in our system that's been broken down over time. Investing in female politicians that are people of color, all of those different things. Those are people that are living dangerously. I tell you what, like, I am a woman who owns a 50-year-old bookstore that was approached by extremists, right? I'm living dangerously. I'm living dangerously because I have a store that is ripe for attacked by extremists. So that means that I'm doing something right for sure. I'm also host a radio show where I talk about things that some people might be, concerned and scared about talking about right now. And so, like, there's this idea of like living dangerously. And if you're not one of those people who wants to live that dangerously, that's fine. We all have our thresholds, right? And some of us might need to toughen up a little bit. But at least invest your capital, at least invest your attention, at least invest your focus on that which is targeted in this administration, because those are the people that need support. And I know that from experience, just recent experience with these extremists showing up my doorstep, and I felt much safer because I had an outpouring of support from across the country of people being like, you know what, we know what to do when something like this happens. We are going to come into your store. We're going to shop online. We're going to leave a good review. Investing in the joy and the happiness and the financial support, because it cost us like $5,000 to update our security system. And I would not have been able to do that without the additional revenue that viral video brought in. So yeah, that's my little TED talk. I hope that Dave Plotkin, wherever you are, Billy Means, wherever you are at, I hope you approve of me and what I'm doing these days. And yeah, just live in a way that Dave and Billy would be proud, that would make them proud, because they're no longer here, to do the work for themselves. They've kind of taken their resignation way too soon on both of their accounts. But they made a mark, and they made a difference. And live dangerously and invest dangerously with your time and attention. And that includes going somewhere like Substack and following and supporting people that are on there. Thanks for tuning in. This is Front Porch Radio. I'm Julie Wilder. You can find a podcast of this later, probably this week, will be up on Front Porch Radio's Substack. And keep tuning in, keep supporting this station. It's a good one. If you go to WPRK.org, invest in this station. Advertising on this station is very inexpensive. And donating just for the goodness of your heart is also not that hard to do. Just wanted to say that. Dave Plotkin, wherever you're at, man, I hope I make you proud. And I'm just really glad to have known you.